10 मिनट यार,
Yes,
सुनने की भी आदत डालो
sir.
जब आपने क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया तो तकलीफ होने लगेगी.
Difficulty is irrespective of the maintenance and other things, my lord.
whatever it is,
The difficulty.
whatever it is,
Now-
if the cleanliness is not there,
Yes.
if it is not being properly maintained,
Certain.
आप लिख दीजिएगा ना उसमें कि ये this is
if I am satisfied, if I am
compromise, this is compromise.
The brief background of this case, my lord. Your lordships would appreciate, my lord, that this is a case wherein a developer, that is Mr. Soni, my lord, developed a colony. In fact, developed a property which is purely meant for senior citizens, my lord. That was like a senior citizens' home with all amenities and facilities. In fact, it was only the senior citizens who can reside there. So, therefore, my lord, this project was developed. However, the residents of the project faced certain difficulties regarding the amenities and other things which were promised to them. As a result of which they filed a case under the Senior Citizens Act, my lord, claiming certain benefits. Now, my lord,
that is maintainable.
no, my lord, that your lordships would see that that matter went to the subdivisional officer. My lord, there were range of issues. Subdivisional officer decided in the favor of the senior.
Such an application is maintainable before the SDO under the right to
There were range of
maintenance and welfare of parents and senior citizens.
there were range of issues which were.
Forget about the range of issues. First of all, answer my query. What is the purpose of this act, Udinajara? What is the purpose of this act?
The purpose of this act is, of course, for the welfare and the maintenance and welfare of the city's senior citizens, my lord.
And which is to be paid by?
My lord, the act provides not only the children, but even others were included.
But even by the builders.
No, it is not by the builders, my lord.
Then
The difficulty is irrespective of the maintenance and other things, my lord.
whatever it is,
The difficulty.
whatever it is,
Now-
if the cleanliness is not there,
Yes.
if it is not being properly maintained,
Certain amenities were not.
Yes, yes,
provided,
fine.
and there.
fine.
Yes.
Whether it will come under the purview of this act.
My lord,
Please argue on that issue, sir.
my lord, can I most respectfully submit, my lord? May I?
Please take out the act, sir.
Sir.
Please point out the provision of law under which this such type of applications can be filed before SDM.
Lord, I'll just point out the Senior Citizens Act, of course.
Yeah, please, sir.
मैं एक अनुरोध करूं सर.
जी सिंह सर.
ये सिद्धार्थ जी अब वहाँ जाएंगे जब आपने मूल क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया तो तकलीफ होने लगेगी.
सर देखिए सवाल इस बात का है सिंह साहब
जी
मैं एक चीज आपसे पूछना चाह रहा था.
जी
जब हम कुछ चीजों को जो अपेरेंटली मेंटेनेबल है कि नहीं है उनको डिसाइड किए बगैर जब कोई ऑर्डर्स करते हैं
जी
तो वो एज ए प्रेसिडेंट साइट होने लगते हैं कि नहीं होने लगते हैं सर.
आप लिख दीजिएगा ना उसमें कि ये this is
If I am satisfied,
this is compromise.
If I am not satisfied with the maintainability, I am the last person to say that it shall not be treated as a precedent. Because my personal view is the moment the court says, or I would say that it is not to be treated, that means I myself is not satisfied with the proposition of laws settled by me.
Yes.
So this is the primary question.
Anyway, that's separate issue, my lord.
No, sir, without adjudicating upon the maintenance of such an application before the SDO under this act, I will not proceed further.
That would be answered, my lord, if a exigency arises and if Siddharth is ready for it, my lord, because this matter was listed for filing a joint application and consideration of the request.
That is true. I know only one thing, that even the consent of the parties cannot confer a jurisdiction on a court which otherwise the court does not.
Yes, that I.
So merely because a joint application has been filed, that will not nullify my query, sir.
That will not.
That is the difficulty, sir.
So Siddharth has to answer that, Lord.
So if you are not ready with that argument, no problem, sir. Please take time,
Yes.
make preparation, and then come with all
My lord, in fact, your lordships would appreciate, my lord, the
Sir,
burden
देखिए,
lies, my lord, I'm
जल्दबाजी में
नहीं, I will not. I will be the last person, my lord. The matter.
I am giving you the last opportunity, then I will not adjourn the matter. Choice is yours. Either seek adjournment just now, or then conclude the arguments.
My lord, then I'll seek some time, my lord, to
Fine,
on all the issues. In fact, my lord, this
So first of all, my query is whether it was maintained. Just a minute, यार.
Yes.
सुनने की भी आदत डालो.
Sir.
My query is whether such an application is maintainable or not. If it is maintainable, then the only question which will be left for me is to consider as to whether the compromise which has been arrived at between the parties is legal or illegal. Beyond that, I am not going to touch that compromise conditions, right? I cannot compel a party to do which is otherwise illegal. So I have to just consider whether it is within the legal framework or not. If you are trying to give up certain rights, it is none of my business. If they are trying to give up some certain there, it is their prerogative, right? I am not going to say that why you are giving this much of right or why you are claiming this much of right. It is your prerogative, provided it is not an illegal one. That will be the only consideration for me. So first of all, please argue whether it was maintainable or not, or adjudicating your commercial disputes with the builder. Number two, then thereafter I will come to the terms and conditions of the compromise application, right? And even the scope of interference would be very limited. I would just try to find out whether any of the condition is legal or illegal. If all the conditions are permissible, then it is the prerogative of the parties whether they want to give up any right or they want to grab any additional right. I am not going to touch that. Right? 18649/2019. The primary question for consideration is as to whether the application filed by the trust,
by the senior citizens,
against for grant of certain amenities by the senior citizens under the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007 for grant of certain amenities by the builder was maintainable or not. The respondent please for time to address this court on this issue. As per it, time granted, as per it, list this case on. अब जब बताओ से लगा देते
2 weeks.
List this case after 2 weeks.
सर मैं एक अनुरोध कर दूं आप क्लोज करें इसके पहले कि ये सीनियर सिटीजन्स तो है ही है, हम भी तैयार हैं कि इनके सीनियर सिटीजन्स का सेटल हो जाए एक वंस फॉर ऑल।
सिंह सर
तो इक्विटी पे ख्याल रखेंगे सर, और बाकी तो सिद्धांत में
देखिए सिंह साहब, मेरा सिर्फ मैंने बिल्कुल क्लियर किया कि जहां तक रहा सवाल सेटलमेंट का, मैंने बस इतना ही देखना है कोई इलीगल काम तो नहीं हो रहा है।
बिल्कुल सही।
इससे मैंने कुछ नहीं देखना है कि आपने क्या राइट गिव अप किया, आपने क्या राइट क्लेम किया। This is for the parties to decide, and if they have amicably settled their dispute this way or that way, I will not have any objection to that.
Both parties are.
That's right. So I am only required to verify whether it is an amicable and voluntary settlement, number one, whether any of the term and condition violates any legal provision or not. First, that is all. आपने 10 रुपए ज्यादा क्यों ले लिए, इसने 10 रुपए कम क्यों दिए, that is none of my business.
Right.
तो वो मैं इनके राइट्स के ऊपर कोई कुठाराघात नहीं करने वाला हूँ सर, ये मैंने पहले ही क्लियर कर दिया है। Unless and until something which is otherwise legally not permissible, उतना ही मेरा स्कोप ऑफ इंटरफेरेंस रहेगा। मैं इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं सुनूंगा कि आपने 10 रुपए ज्यादा क्यों लिए या 10 रुपए कम क्यों लिए।
That's not the issue. He will answer your lordship's queries, Mr. Siddharth, on the next date of hearing, whether this application which he presented before the STM, whether this was maintainable or not. That's your lordship's query.
That is the primary question, sir. That is the primary question. और उसके बाद अगर वो maintainable होती है, then the next question would be with regard to the compromise or the joint application which you have filed. and that will be scrutinized with a very limited scope that whether any of the condition, I have not seen that application, so though I don't know what are the terms and conditions of the application. But the only scope of interference would be whether those conditions violate any legal provision or not. अगर वो किसी legal provision का violation नहीं है, and if it is voluntary, then I will not interfere with any of the condition by saying कि भाई ये मुझे पसंद नहीं है या फलाना है. If it is agreeable to the parties, I will not have any objection to that.
सर ये एप्लीकेशन वकीलों के तो दिमाग लगे ही हुए हैं, कोई माय लॉर्ड के भी दिमाग लगे हुए हैं सर, जो रिटायर होके उसमें रह रहे हैं. इसलिए इसको हम बड़े बायस मान के अभी अपनी पार्टियों से दोनों से बात करके मैंने कहा कि आर यू सैटिस्फाइड. jurisdictional point has to be answered by
मैंने जो भी कहा लिमिटेड स्कोप ऑफ इंटरफेरेंस, मैंने सिर्फ लीगल एस्पेक्ट से बात की है. मैंने आपको पहले ही कहा कि मैंने एप्लीकेशन अभी नहीं देखी है, सो आई डू नॉट नो व्हाट आर द टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस.